Hello and welcome back to the Listening to Your Gut podcast. I'm excited because we're doing a lot of things on the podcast lately. I'm introducing you to a lot of different techniques that I think could be very beneficial for you, but also I know they're becoming very beneficial for me, and we'll dive into why that is here in a little bit. But today I have an incredible guest that I met just over a month ago at an event in which I spoke, and this incredible human spoke there as well, and actually led an incredible session that I just shared with her was unlike any other I've ever had in the area in which she was sharing with us and what she led us through. And so today we have on the podcast, we have Ashley Sitterding. She is an emotional mastery and embodiment mentor. And her, first of all, just her vibe is infectious. The kindness that exudes from her is unmatched. And I just knew after meeting her at this event, I knew she had to come on the podcast because what she did for me, what she did for so many women there, she's going to spread and share that love to you today. And she's going to help you to see how what she has learned, what she is doing can also help you to embody yourself, embody the love for yourself, and help you to heal truly from the inside out. So I know that was long-winded, but Ashley, welcome to the podcast.
Wow. Thank you, Kelly. You as well. You are such a kind soul from the minute that I met you, and your infectious joy, and just love and acceptance and authenticity was immediately recognized. And just you getting up, you led the speakers. You got up on stage and got us off to a great start. And I was like, wow, that was awesome. And so I really appreciate that coming from you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate what you just said related to me and right back at you. I mean, I am super jealous of your dance moves. Like you got it. You've got it going on. And I'm just like, man, can I take some dance lessons from you too? Because your dancing is infectious to me. I love it. So
I do work with people one-on-one for dancing.
I love it. I love it. I might have to take you up on that, really. So, Ashley, we're going to dive in, like I said, to a lot of things today. But at the root of this, I want to start with, which I think is really important, your health and wellness journey. So if you wouldn't mind taking us back to really what led you into really focusing on health and wellness, and what made it a priority for you? How did you, so to speak, fall in love with health and wellness? Because I feel that from you, and we connect on that because I also love health and wellness. We both know how important it is to our overall wellness. So can you just dive into, just how did you get here?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it relatively short because it started about 9, 10 years ago. And I went to school, I became an RN, and I got into the health and wellness space because I just always had a passion for it, for movement, but for, eating well for ourselves. And even in that, I still played with good foods and whatnot. And during nursing school, I got so stressed. I was working at one point 3 jobs, also nursing school. It was a lot. And so my diet kind of went down the drain. I kind of ate just whatever I could, and convenience took over. And at one point I was 25 and I was really didn't get tested, but what I now know was definitely arthritis and major joint pain. And it was more of a rheumatoid. And I just remembered thinking like, what? I know I'm getting older, but like, I shouldn't be having brain fog, joint pain. My skin was terrible. I was breaking out. I just knew at that point, something was off, and that I wasn't getting results from doctors or for medications. And I definitely knew I didn't want to be on any of the arthritis medication, because that to me was a lot of that stuff is chemotherapy drugs. And so at the time, I just knew I wanted to find the root cause. And so I dove down this rabbit hole of alternative health and eating whole foods, and how different foods affect our body, what's the, vitamins and what they're good for, and getting into herbs. And that led me down into realizing I was doing all the perfect things as far as like food and health
Mhm.
and movement, and I still was feeling really off. My joint pain got better.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that could just happen just simply cutting out all the candy I was eating and all the,
Yeah.
whatever was in the cafeteria at the hospital that, I had available. Just cutting that out, I think would help somebody tremendously.
Yeah.
But there was still something else. And so that led me down mindset and learning about our thoughts and how we think. And I became certified in NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, basically deals with the subconscious mind and our underlying beliefs.
Mhm.
And learned about, victimhood mentality, scarcity mentality, coming from a place of fear. And that was all great. And I was doing better. I was feeling better. And it just still, this piece was missing. And that's when I really dove into emotions. And I learned so much about how our emotions are stored in our body, which now we know more and more about.
Yeah.
Um, and learning that there's a difference between being sucked into our emotions and letting them drive us.
Mhm.
And the opposite end of that is over intellectualizing and bypassing and numbing out from our emotions and not feeling them at all. And I was more of the latter. I was a over intellectualizer. I would move into a positive mentality mindset to where, that where you hear toxic positivity.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it. I thought I was doing a great thing by just being like, oh, we're good, move on to the next, or how can I spin this to a positive aspect, and not really actually sitting with my human, all the human parts within me, and to dive into inner child work, which I started doing about 4 or 5 years ago, and really learning how important that was, because we still have that inner child in us that is tugging at our pant leg, like, hey, listen to me. Hey,
Yeah.
nobody's listening to me. Nobody sees me. And so, yeah, and throughout all that, my healing started clearing up, and I really started learning about nervous system regulation, which was a huge piece of all of that. That is at the underbelly of, I think, everything. And so that's where the embodiment work comes in, and really learning more about nervous system and how to create resiliency. And yes, there's some regulation there, but there's also a point in time where, especially those that are higher achievers and doers and in this self-development world, want to look for tools and immediately shift out of a certain state that we're in, but rather learning how to be in those states in a healthy way versus trying to always change or biohack our way out, whether that looks like cold showers or overworking out, that can, or doing breath work in a time when maybe we need to sit with those emotions and learn how to be the nurturing parent for ourselves in those moments. And so, yeah, that's a long-winded answer of kind of my journey, but
Yeah.
takes,
That's incredible. Well, and so many things are flowing through my mind as you shared that. But I think one thing that and we chatted about this prior to recording, but I would love for you to dive into the embodiment piece, because I think we hear that word, and you are an embodiment mentor. I would love for you to dive into when we say embodiment, can you describe what that really refers to, and why that is so important in regulating our nervous system? Because I've shared with you, I've shared on social media, and I'm starting to share on my podcast, that at the root of my issues, like I'm coming to find out, it's nervous system dysregulation, right? And I think for a lot of us, that is where everything starts, right? And you can go through, like you said, you had these tests and they all came back quote unquote fine. Same with me. It's like clean bill of health, but you don't, like, to your point, you don't feel like you are fine, right? And so yeah, I would love for us to dive into embodiment. Can you share more on that, like for the
yeah,
listener who's heard that and is like, why is that important? What is that? Let's dive
yeah.
into that.
Yeah. So what I realized throughout my journey is I dissociated a lot. So what do
Yeah.
I mean by dissociated? You kind of zone out, you're daydreaming, you're off somewhere else. Maybe you've noticed when you're driving, or like you didn't realize how you got there, or somebody was having a conversation, you're like, wait, what did you say? And you totally weren't listening. That is our body's way of keeping us safe. Because no matter what it is that's going on in our body or our mind, it's keeping us safe from something. There's some wounding, there's some fear, there's some part of us that doesn't feel safe. So it feels safer to dissociate and not be in our bodies. And so, really, embodiment is coming back into our bodies, getting out of our mind and into our bodies, and also being with the sensations. Like for me, really how that started was actually dance. Dance was how I not only got out of depression, which I didn't mention those symptoms. Depression and anxiety were huge for me during that time. That helped me learn how to reconnect with my body. And then EFT, which is emotional freedom techniques, which you talked about earlier, and that's tapping on the different meridian endpoints. And that allowed me to actually give voice to the parts of me that were scared, the parts of me, the inner child, the suppressed emotions. In that state of presence, I was noticing stuff coming up. And that embodiment is, instead of me like trying to go into my mind or trying to think about something else in the future or go do something else, I sat with those feelings and just, I started with very small increments of doing that. And so, it starts very slowly and just bringing presence to the body and to our breath, and just learning the different sensations and feelings that we experience whenever we have big emotions come up, or we have those moments where we want to dissociate. But a lot of people don't even realize, one, what dissociation is or what that even feels like. So
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to that exact point, like, and we've all heard this, we've all said this, but like time and time again, I say to myself, why are we not knowledgeable of this? Like, why is this not like legit a course or like a subject that should be mandatory in school? I just don't, it's mind blowing to me, because then we get halfway through our lives, until maybe by the grace of God, we encounter someone like you, or we, somehow figure it out ourselves. And it's like, gosh, that would have saved me so much heartache, so much, distress, saving all of that, if we would have known how to, one, what this stuff meant, but two, like how supportive we could have been to our own selves in some of the deepest, darkest times.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
absolutely. And it's interesting too, because as a nurse, like, we learn about the nervous system and all of that, but we didn't learn about dorsal vagal or ventral vagal or shutdown or freeze or these other parts. We just know sympathetic and parasympathetic.
Yeah.
But we didn't even learn about the vagus nerve, which is huge. It's our cranial nerve 10, and it goes throughout our entire body and is a huge part. It's really what they call the second brain, as you know, with gut health.
Yeah.
It's in our gut, and it innervates. It sends so many signals back up to our brain. In fact, more so than it does from brain to our body. And it's so fascinating when just learning all this stuff that, it's a ladder. And, Dr. Stephen Porges talks about this. And, we have shut down like, we see these in animals that, if they're being attacked, they'll faint, they'll pass out. That actually happens in us too, but maybe it's not to that degree. Yes, we can get to that, but that may look like where we're completely like shut down and not able to do things. Look at chronic fatigue, staying in bed or unable to just do simple daily tasks. That's after the nervous system has been in this state of fight or flight for so long that it has no other choice but to just shut down. And then right above that is a mix between sympathetic and shutdown, and that's freeze, that's immobilization, that's the paralysis, that's the feeling like there's one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas. And I'm sure many of us have felt that at some point.
Yep.
And this sense of like, there's so much I want to do, but I don't know how. I feel overwhelmed, or I don't know where to start. And then you've got the sympathetic, which is what I was in for so long as a nurse, way overworked and so disconnected from myself, my joy, my play, my creativity. And that after so many years led me to a place of freeze and at a period shutdown.
Mhm.
And it's been a journey. And in fact, I still see it as I up level and I expand into more. I see old freeze habits coming up. And it's something that we have to be aware of so that as we go to that next level or we're stepping into more, how we can be with ourselves in a way that's loving and nurturing. Because if we try to push ourselves in a state of freeze, that is like the worst thing we could do.
Mhm.
We don't need more motivation or more working out or more, I mean, maybe working out looks different, like just simple movement or tai
Yeah.
chi, or movement's always important, but what that movement looks like. And
Yeah.
so when we can understand where we are on that ladder, we can then tailor our own designed program for how to be with ourselves in those moments, but not to pressure what we think is the right thing to do or what we should be doing, but allowing our body to lead us through that.
Yeah. Well, and one of those tools is, like you said, is EFT, right?
Yeah.
So I would love for us to dive into how EFT has impacted your life, basically like the 411 on EFT. And then I think we had talked about maybe even doing a little mini segment. I think would be great for the listener to not only hear, but then they can play it back and do it with us the second time through. So on their end, of course. But yeah, I would love to do that.
Absolutely. So EFT, it was interesting. It actually came as part of my life and success coaching
Okay.
certification. It came as part of that. And I was like, I have no idea what this is. And this is the oddest looking modality I've ever seen. I'm like, how is tapping on my face going to help me heal? This is berserk. And so I remembered I just learned about it and I kind of went along with it, but I still wasn't using it. It took me a while to actually start using it. And then, I would do like small amounts of it. And I'm like, I don't feel any different. But what I really learned was the consistency of it and the length. Like really when I hit that 10-minute mark, because I also was in a very sympathetic state when I was learning all this. So for me, rest didn't feel safe. We see this in a lot of people who are overachievers and who are constantly working and over accomplishing and doing all these things. That's another form of protection for us.
Yep.
And it's to not actually sit and be still so that our emotions can come up. And so for me, like EFT and even breath work, like I was doing breath work, but it was the Wim Hof, like intense,
Mhm.
sympathetic driven breath work. And so once I started getting into calmer states and acknowledging how to just be in my body, EFT started coming up. So for those who are familiar with Reiki, I was Reiki attuned back in 2016. And so I've learned how to feel different energies.
Mhm.
And after I was doing EFT, I would feel anecdotally energy leaving. It would go out my right leg, which is typically what happens when I'm doing Reiki. And so I'm like, whoa, okay, I'm moving energy.
Yeah.
Something's working. And then the analytical, scientific, logical mind that that I still have, because I'm very spiritual, but also very scientific, I started diving deeper. And there's over 275 different scientific peer-reviewed studies on EFT showing how it not only calms our amygdala, which is our emotional centers in our brain.
Yeah.
Harvard has recently done a study on this and on meridian different points in our body. And Johns Hopkins uses it in their hospital setting. And I was learning how, because when we deactivate the amygdala, which is our survival state, we're very reactive. We can't access our prefrontal cortex, which is our higher level thinking, our higher consciousness.
Mhm.
Um, when we can calm that down, we can then be present with our emotions and with our body and whatever it is that's coming up, because it's really about learning how to be that loving, nurturing parent for
Mhm.
ourselves
Mhm.
that maybe we didn't have. And so, of course, we didn't learn how to do it and how to be with ourselves. We likely have that voice, that inner critic likely sounds like our caretakers. And so we treat ourselves the same way that we were as children. And so it's really learning how to reparent and love all parts of ourselves, which can feel really hard because all we've known is to judge, shame, reject, push it down, not allow it. I mean, if you think about like oh, if you're crying, I'll give you something to cry about. I mean, that's an extreme example.
Yeah.
Or, little kids are not to be heard. And so it's really about learning those patterns and what we say to ourselves and what emotions we're uncomfortable with expressing.
Mhm.
And those are usually at the crux of where we're stuck. And whenever we hold on and suppress emotions, it actually creates energetic blocks in our body. And so tapping on these points or tapping on the meridian points. So just like with acupuncture, really how the needles work is it's releasing that stuck energy. So same thing's happening as we're tapping through. And of course, I always incorporate breath. And lastly, what I love about it is it allows space for the negativity, to not allow us to bypass, but to give voice to what that negative feeling is that we're scared to say out loud or that we're scared to admit to ourselves.
Yeah.
And then we get it all out.
Yeah.
We move to more neutrality and then more into positivity of like, how can I bring curiosity to this? How can I be more open to seeing this differently? And that's why I love it, because it's not just spraying that poopery spray on which actually works really well, but it'd be more like a Febreze over really smelly poop. It's like
Yeah.
we want to clean that first, and so that's why I love it.
Gosh, that's incredible. So can we do a little mini
Yeah,
session?
yeah.
I think that would be phenomenal.
So do you have an example or something that you're working on, or maybe we tap into like an emotional state of like overwhelm maybe?
Yeah, let's do that. Like just overwhelm for the
Okay.
woman who's just has so much on her plate and doesn't even feel like she has the time to quite literally breathe.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Okay. So I will just mention the points as we get to them.
Yep.
So for the first three statements, we'll say it's called the karate chop point.
Yeah.
And so we will tap along here. So right before we start, I just have us take big breaths. So we'll do 3 big breaths. So in our nose and out our mouth. So go ahead and inhale in and exhale. Inhale in and exhale. And last one, inhale in and exhale. Right. So on the karate chop point, and I'll have you repeat after me. Even though I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now,
Even though I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now,
I love and accept myself.
I love and accept myself.
Even though I feel like I have so much to do in so little time,
Even though I feel like I have so much to do in so little time,
I can be here with myself in this moment.
I can be here with myself in this moment.
Even though I feel like a hamster on a wheel,
Even though I feel like a hamster on a wheel,
I choose to pause and be with myself in this moment.
I choose to pause and be with myself in this moment.
Eyebrow point. Oh my gosh, I feel so overwhelmed.
Oh my gosh, I feel so overwhelmed.
There's so much happening in my life right now.
There's so much happening in my life right now.
Side of the eye. I don't even know where to start.
I don't even know where to start.
Under your eyes. So much to do.
There's so much to do.
Under your nose. I feel so stressed.
I feel so stressed.
Under your lips. In fact, I don't even know where to start.
I don't even know where to start.
Collarbone. My to-do list is so long.
My to-do list is so long.
Under your arm. Oh, I'm so stressed.
I'm so stressed.
Top of your head. So many people that need things from me.
There's so many people that need things from me.
Top of your eyes. I've committed myself to so many things.
I've committed myself to so many things.
Side of your eye. And that feels really overwhelming.
And that feels really overwhelming.
Oh, I feel really overwhelmed.
I feel really overwhelmed.
under your eyes. This stress, I've been noticing a pattern of a lot of it.
This stress, I've been noticing a pattern of a lot of it.
Under your nose. Can't remember the last time I've had time for myself.
I can't remember the last time I've had time for myself.
Under your mouth. Something's got to change.
Something's got to change.
Under your collarbone. This stress is really affecting my health.
This stress is really affecting my health.
Under your arms. It's affecting my well-being.
It's affecting my well-being.
Top of your head. I know I can't stress myself to health.
I know I can't stress myself to health.
Top of your eyes. So I'm going to breathe right here, right now.
So I'm going to breathe right here, right now.
I'm choosing to change.
I'm choosing to change.
Side of your eyes. Because I know I can't think as clearly.
Because I know I can't think as clearly
when I'm this stressed.
When I'm this stressed.
Under your eyes. I'm open to seeing how I can bring in more space into my day-to-day.
I'm open to seeing how I can bring in more space to my day today.
Under your nose. Space for myself.
Space for myself.
Under your lips. Space to just be with myself.
Space to just be with myself.
Collarbone. I don't know how that's possible.
I don't know how that's possible.
Under your arms. I've got so much to do.
I've got so much to do.
Top of your head. But I'm willing to find out a different way.
But I'm willing to find out a different way.
Top of your eyebrows. Even if that's just 5 to 10 minutes.
Even if that's just 5 to 10 minutes.
Out of your eye. I can do that.
I can do that.
Under your eyes. I can do that.
I can do it.
Under your nose. In fact, I know I need to do this.
In fact, I know I need to do this.
Under your lips. I desire more peace in my life.
I desire more peace in my life.
Collarbone. I deserve more peace in my life.
I deserve more peace in my life.
Under your arms. I desire more peace in my life.
I desire more peace in my life.
Top of your head. So I choose to try this tapping.
So I choose to try this tapping.
Collarbone, eyebrow. So I choose to find more ways.
So I choose to find more ways
to be with myself.
To be with myself.
That are nurturing to my nervous system.
That are nurturing to my nervous system.
Side of eye. I can carve out 10 minutes throughout my day.
I can carve out 10 minutes throughout my day.
My health is worth it. Under your eyes.
My health is worth it.
Under your nose. My sanity is worth it.
My sanity is worth it.
I deserve to feel peace.
I deserve to feel peace.
Collarbone. I deserve to feel more calm.
I deserve to feel more calm.
Under your arm. And I can get stuff done and have more calm.
And I can get stuff done and have more calm.
Top of your head. And it is worth it.
And it is worth it.
All right. And then open your eyes. Take a deep breath in. And obviously that was just a short little step. But how do you feel in your body? Is it
good? Like I feel much more relaxed. And I love how, like, to your point that you mentioned earlier, like you brought in the doubts that my brain had, right? Of like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, right?
Yeah.
That I think is key, right? Is acknowledging that piece, but then reminding yourself like it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to make time because you know this is important.
Yeah. And oftentimes we come to a place of healing or where we know we need it because we're at our rock bottom or we've just hit a wall and we just know things have to change. And the thing about it is we can say positive affirmations all day long, but there's going to be our subconscious that's like, nope, I
Yeah.
don't believe that. Nope, that's a lie. And our body is our subconscious. And so if we don't get our body on board, which sends 80% of our nerves from body to brain and only 20% go from brain to body, of course we will stay stuck because, everyone knows how to be healthy and what to do, but we're not doing it. And
Right.
usually there's an emotional component to that and a belief, an underlying subconscious belief. So it's really about learning how to bring voice to what we don't want to admit and what we think is bad, and we're going to feed it if we give attention to it, but really it's giving attention to it was releasing it. Just
Yeah.
like with our emotions, every part of it just wants to be heard and seen and acknowledged. So
Yeah.
that's why I love EFT so much.
Oh, I love it too. I guess another question I have for you related to just, re-regulating our nervous system in general is for like the woman who may be doubting that she has a dysregulation with her nervous system. Like for me, I did for the longest time. I was like, no, it couldn't be that. Like it's got to be something, I guess, I don't want to say fixable because it's all fixable, but it's got to be something that on paper I can see is wrong and then I can work to fix that, right? Like
Mm,
nervous system dysregulation, you won't find that on paper, right? There is no test that's going to showcase, oh, you look like you need to, re-regulate your nervous system. So to the woman who like doubts that she needs this work, breathe life into, you already have, but like give her some motivation, like some reassurance that when you do this, like it is going to benefit your body, mind, and soul, like your entire being.
yeah, absolutely. I think for me, because I tried everything, like I did all the things,
Yep.
I'm telling you, and energy work to like traditional care to a mixture between, and also Eastern, fully Eastern too, and herbals. At the end of the day, our nervous system is the underpinning of all of it. And if we don't feel safe in our body, if we are constantly on this hamster wheel, we're constantly going and doing, we're not actually giving space to maybe a part of us that's trying to be heard, a
Yeah.
part of us that, because like you were saying earlier with nervous system, so much, we weren't taught how to be with emotions either. We
Right.
weren't taught one awareness of our emotions and then how to manage them when we do. Because it either looks like two ways. It's like we get sucked into our emotions and we're someone who's always emotional, or we're someone that like is so like poker face and always good. We never have issues. And it's like there's an in between. There's a harmony that we can have, not only with our nervous system, but with our emotions. And we start bringing in more internal reflection because our body at the end of the day is screaming for something. There is something that it's asking of us. It's our warning sign. Our bodies know how to heal when we can be with it and listen to it and try to tune in rather than listening external from ourselves and doctors and what others are saying that we need to do. We're the experts of our body. And so learning really what emotional regulation is, but also nervous system regulation, I think is hugely important with any healing journey. I think it's the underpinning of it all. So, which is
Yeah,
why I'm so passionate about sharing.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm going to ask this because this is something like selfishly I'm going to ask for myself, but I know that there are other people out there that feel the same way. Like when you have said a couple times and even through that EFT practice, like the fact that we are doing so much to shove down those things that we don't want to think about, or shove down just the fact of like we're not giving ourselves time to truly be with ourselves. What would your advice, what would your encouragement to the woman who's like, yep, I'm just going to keep doing the things and just keep going and just keep shoving it all down. Like if she doesn't even know what she's shoving down, but she knows that like she's just doing the things, rinse and repeat every single day and filling up her schedule so that there's no time to really think. you know,
Yeah.
about her being herself, what would your advice be?
That's a great question. I honestly think going on walks, like starting with going on walks, because
Yeah.
somebody in that state is somebody that needs to keep moving. Because total rest and meditation will probably not be a good call for them. It's probably going to lead to more chaos and overwhelm, because they've probably not given themselves a chance to really stop and be with themselves. And with that comes all the crazy thoughts that are happening in the background, and all the to-dos and all the things that need to get done. So probably just going on walks without their phone,
Yeah.
starting with 10-minute walks out in nature.
Mm.
And it's going to be an interesting practice, because they're probably going to be like, oh my God, but I got to check this, or I got, and
Yeah.
just noticing that is the first sign that, oh, well, we clearly, there's something here where we're scared to be with ourselves. We're
Yeah.
scared to just be with the solitude, with the quiet.
Yeah.
And that takes practice. Like that, I started that 2016. That like, that was a culmination of slowing down and getting things out of my life, but also just allowing 10-minute blocks of movement.
Yeah.
And journaling would be the other thing. If somebody is has done that in the past or enjoys writing, or even if you don't, because I didn't, but oh my gosh, wow, what a practice that is. Because when I tell people about EFT, a lot of them, like, I could teach them, but then they're like, okay, but what do I say? I don't know where to start. Journal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of The Artist Way, but it's an incredible book. And in it, they talk about morning pages, and the goal is right first thing when you wake up, before doing anything, don't touch your phone, don't do it, which also I would recommend as a great practice, because we're
Yeah.
in an alpha theta brainwave when we first wake up. And that's a beautiful time to just be in solitude and be with ourselves. The second we grab our phone, we're back in beta, which is stressful. If you look at a EEG, it's a crazy wave. And so right when we start our days that way, it's like we go right into that. So really breaking that pattern of either just stop and do some 4-7-8 breath, or get out a journal and just brain dump. I love writing about my dreams, because our dreams, I believe, are our subconscious mind speaking to us.
Mhm.
For a long time was having dreams where I was always running and doing, and like never enough time, and I was always late, and I was just like dropping all the plates, right? And that was telling me, okay, that's overwhelm. That's something that my body's trying to process, because I'm not giving it time in the daytime. So that's what our brain does when we're dreaming. So yeah, so journaling and just brain dumping whatever, even if it's starting like, this is stupid, I don't have anything to write, I don't know what I need to say, I just need to get started in my day. I
Yeah.
would then start writing my to-do list, and I started there, and then all of a sudden something would come up, or you would be so surprised. And doing that, even if it's just 10-minute window in the morning, you're starting the process. So I'm so big in baby steps and doing little changes that over time will make huge waves. And so just starting with 10 minutes. And if you could do 20 minutes, so 10 minutes in the morning of the journaling, and then at the end of the day, 10 minutes of decompression where you're just getting out in nature and walking. Wow. Like that, you're going to notice huge changes.
I love that. And I also am a proponent of baby steps and just incrementally making those changes so that they can, compound over time, and you'll see the effects even more so, and it will become habit. So I love that, because, like I said, I'm asking for myself, because while I love like all my hobbies, what I do, in the health and wellness sphere, I love that. But I also know that part of my issue is like suppressing. So just
Mhm.
suppressing, just being with myself. It is much more comfortable for me to keep myself busy and to pour into other people than it is for me to sit quietly and be with myself. And again, it's because I was never taught to do that, right? We
Yeah.
as a generation were never taught to do that. And it's intimidating. I think
Yeah.
that's the root of it, is like, whoa, like to your point, that's uncomfortable. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be uncomfortable, right? So I'm
Yeah.
just going to closet it and go ahead and keep doing things to keep my mind busy and my body busy, but then that negatively affects every other part of the body.
Absolutely. And more importantly, it's like there's going to be judgments that come up, like, this is so unproductive. What's
Yeah.
the point of this? I don't understand. And just allow it and trust that you having that rest and that calm and that presence is going to set you up to where you're so much more effective and so much more efficient throughout your day to day. And I would love to add, Kelly, for you, especially because you've already been doing this work, for on the walks, start doing tapping
Yeah.
while you're doing it, even if you say nothing. Like the
Yeah.
process itself is powerfully, it works so powerfully. Adding in the giving voice, of course, is going to amplify it because you're bringing in the mind as well. But this alone, without saying anything, they have shown studies and blood work that have been done. It lowers cortisol, it lowers all these, like the adrenaline, and it increases DHEA, which is the youth hormone, and upregulates our positive neurotransmitters. So just doing that alone is super powerful. So
Yeah. Gosh, I hear all of the science, the background that you have in this, I'm just continually blown away. I mean, I was blown away when I met you, and then we went through this practice together with you, and you can just tell, like I can see it in your eyes, I can hear it in your voice, but like more importantly, I can tell how much this has affected you and impacted you in the positive realm. And I'm so thankful that you are here, like speaking to this audience, and just shedding light for me too. Like this has been therapeutic just right here and now for me. So gosh, thank you, Ashley, for being here. Thank you for blessing us with your presence, for blessing us with your knowledge. Because I'm gonna try not to cry.
oh,
Yeah, this is like, I love it.
I'm giving you a big hug. I love you so much.
I absolutely love it. So as I try to compose myself, how can the listener connect with you, work with you? Because like, if you are not blown away by Ashley, like, what universe are you living on right now?
Kelly, thank you so much. And honestly, like this is such an honor, and I'm
Yeah,
so freaking grateful to be here and to have this podcast, to be able to spread this, because so many of us don't know about it and so many of us
yeah,
don't know about the nervous system. I was in such a dark place for such a long time and felt so helpless. And so I love being able to share this to people, that it's so doable. There's science behind it, and anecdotally, it feels really good. And
yes.
so I really appreciate you having me on. And I do hope other listeners get something from this. And
Sure.
so yeah, my Instagram is holistic alignment. So WHOLISTIC, and then alignment 411. And in my link tree, there's a link to apply, or even if you shoot me a DM and be like, hey, I heard this podcast and I'd love to know more, I will shoot you resources. There's so many free resources, and I could, help guide you along the process, even if it's not with me, because I am really passionate about it. And I love for people to get started. And if you do feel compelled to work with me, I love working with people one-on-one, because I can customize. I can see the little blind spots that other people can't see, and then we start unraveling, because healing is like peeling an onion. There's so many layers. And being able to have somebody that can see and support you, and just where you're heard and just held, that's I think one of the most beautiful healing. That's attunement right there. That's what our nervous system needs. It needs attunement and movement. And so yeah, I'm really passionate about using it with my clients, because it always seems to surprise people. They're like, what comes up, and how many
Yeah,
tears start flowing, because they're just like, whoa, okay, I wasn't expecting it. So because by ourselves, we can't discover that, we can't see the label from inside the jar, And
right.
so having somebody else to really witness and hold you through it, and guide you through it, so you don't feel scared that you're going to get stuck. Or a lot of times when we're in that state, we don't have that higher self viewpoint of, how can I see this in a beautiful light? We get so narrow-minded and lost in the sauce. And so I think it's important to have somebody to guide you through the process.
Well, that's, again, like I said, it's absolutely incredible what you're sharing, what you're doing, just shedding more light and awareness on the importance of really tapping into our bodies, our nervous system specifically. And I'm super excited. By the time that this podcast comes out, you will know that Ashley's going to actually come into the podcast Facebook community and lead an EFT tapping session with you. So if you went through the short exercise that we did in this episode and you're like, I want more, please come and join us for that. And even more importantly, like Ashley said, please reach out to her, because she's such an incredible soul, such a genuine soul. I mean, you can see it as I look at her, and here we go again. And yeah, I am just so honored to know you.
Kelly, you're gonna make me cry, Kelly.
I'm sorry. I am like in an emotional state of the month, if you know what I'm talking about. So that's like, I'm overly emotional right now. So, but I also just friggin' love you. So
Me too. I'm blessed to know you.
well, Ashley, again, before I cry myself a river here, thank you again so much for being on the podcast today. And and again, I will have all the ways to connect with Ashley for sure in the show notes. So please, please, please reach out to her, because she's phenomenal.
Thank you, Kelly. I love you. And thank you so much for having me on.
I
And
love
thank you, listeners. If you did it along with us, thank you for showing
Yes.
up for yourself. And
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.